Good morning. How are you? Well, here I am out in Owl's Head, Maine, and it's been raining a little bit. It's going to rain more, and it's very pleasant though right now. Not a drop, not even any mist. So last night I did this local radio show. It was kind of fun because they had a local candidate on, and I questioned him and supported him, although I doubt that he would be my political taste if I actually was working on the campaign. We talked about the national issues, and it was quite interesting because one of the two hosts was very conservative, and although he was very polite during the show, after the show we spoke a little bit, and he has the Fox line down, saying things that just make no sense. And isn't that the problem right now? A good example is the Treasury Secretary Yellen is saying that if we don't get our act together, we're going to default on our debt, and so we have to act. Usually what Congress does in that situation is it just enlarges the debt so that it's lawful to take on more debt. And this is also the month in which they'll wrestle over a continuing resolution. So this is not new, but in recent years, it's always been a tale of suspense. Will the government stay open or not? And they kick the can down the road off until December. And so they may do that again. The reason it's important is it becomes an argument against Biden's Democratic package, $3.5 trillion, because they're saying, look, it'll increase the debt too much. Well, what they're really against is that bill is going to expect the wealthy to give back some of those funds they got on the tax cut years ago. And that's how this package becomes sensible in both a tax and a budgetary sense. So don't be persuaded when the Republicans say, oh, it's going to cause inflation, and what are we going to do about the debt? Like they really care, because when they're in office, they run the debt up as high as they can if they have the vote, and otherwise they charge user fees, and so they don't increase debt, they don't increase taxes, they increase debt. That everybody pays for the benefit of the wealthy is one way to look at it. In the category of, if you're president, shouldn't you be able to choose your own team? There's been a stalled nomination for ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. And David Shipman was the nominee, very good nominee, because he was an advisor to the Gifford Group. You may remember Gabrielle Gifford was shot and survived, and since then her husband, an astronaut, now a senator, and her would campaign for gun reform, and they had some success at that, and they had experts to inform the Congress what made sense and what didn't make sense. Well, the Republicans and Democrats are opposed to Shipman because he was so close to the Gifford Group. So the guy who makes the most sense for ATF is not going to be the guy who gets the job, because they've withdrawn his nomination. What's the point of winning an election if you can't do anything? On the pandemic, Fauci says we're in a pandemic. In other words, it ain't going away, and we have it, and we're stuck with it, and so we have to do the right thing by it. In the category of what can the federal government do about it, Biden is requiring every federal employee to be tested, vaccinated. And I think that's a good move. And what private industry is doing is helping us circumnavigate Republican leaders, mostly governors, who can't find their hindquarters with both hands. It's quite an image if you think about it. And then finally, Georgia's lieutenant governor, I don't know if you remember Jeff Duncan, he was at war with himself, he's a Republican, about whether he should say something or not about Trump lying. and lying about the election. And so finally he decided to tell the truth, and now his political career is persona non grata. He's being threatened in various ways, people leaving messages. And he mentioned his son in one tweet or something, and his own wife got upset because she thought by doing that he might have endangered his son. And he might have, and she's right. But you got to understand, the freedom that you think you enjoy is how you operate until you find out otherwise. And that's what he's learning. But we're all learning something else. We're learning that the mob and the Republican Party are invoking the same practices: terror, punishment, reprisal, lies, funding against you. So, you know, there is no tent in the Republican Party. And I guess you didn't have to go far from Georgia to what's happening with Cheney, because now Trump has said that he supports an opponent of hers. Well, I hope she beats his tail feathers right into the ground, even though I don't have use for almost everything else that Cheney says. But the fact that she thinks the Republicans shouldn't be lying about an election goes a long way with me to think that she's merited support, at least for that position. And we can expect her to come back fierce as a lion on other positions we don't agree with. But she is our ally right now. The most frustrating thing is that to get these people to act is, I don't know, you know, they talk about beating a dead horse. You do get the feeling that the Democrats are barely there. And, you know, I made reference to Cheney. She occasionally has been the spokesperson with strength in connection with the January 6th problem, our insurrection. And it is beyond me how we think it makes sense to give these people a permit and a platform to attack the Capitol again and our government again, claiming that the people who are rioters are political prisoners. I mean, if that isn't a page out of Insurrection 1, I don't know what is. And you can be sure that the Trump team is pushing this, and all the same players are in place. And we have the courts getting upset about some of the crimes that are being charged of the rioters. So it's in flux. And I guess, as most things in life, it's a struggle. And I don't know what proportion of life is not a struggle, but it seems to be a smaller fraction than we'd like. But for now, you have to, you know, write those letters, give the small contributions, be more active if you can, because the level of sound of our voices saying that what we see is wrong and we have to do better is critically important to having something better transpire in America than where we are now. So all the best. Have a good day. Hope you get out and it's pleasant where you are. It is here. Bye-bye.